Hello, and welcome to Sean's Check-In. If this is your first time watching me, you can catch up on other videos of mine on my professional Facebook page, Sean P. Daughtry, LICSW, or over on my YouTube channel, Sean D., Sean's Little Check-In, or Sean's Check-In. Today, I wanted to share about a couple of different concepts here. Spatial awareness, and then the more kind of abstract one, spacious awareness. I'm actually admittedly finding myself struggling with the second one, spacious awareness, of how to succinctly put that. I was researching it online and finding the definitions of it rather not succinct and rather broad and vague. That term is used in a Buddhist context mainly, but I do think it's relevant for people in general, whether you're Buddhist or not. And I certainly work with clients as a psychotherapist to help cultivate that in people. So let me start with a more specifically, scientifically defined concept called spatial awareness. And I looked that up and added a bit more to it of my own. And I have a cheat sheet here of notes to read from about what I understand spatial awareness to be, because that is a build upon or foundation, if you will, for the concept of spacious awareness, which I'll mention then next. So spatial awareness, to my understanding here, is the ability to be accurately aware of people, places, things, and energy in space and time, and one's body's position in relation to them, to all of those stimuli. All aspects or levels of perception, physical, emotional, and mental, come into play with spatial awareness. I mentioned the concept of time as a part of full, accurate spatial awareness. The definition I initially saw was just talking about physical space, but time is a big factor with that. And, to accurately understand things spatially, it's important to know the time frame too connected with that. So you may be aware of something that's happened in a certain physical space around you. It's good to know when that has happened, if it's past or if it's current or will be in the future. Connected with this, spatial awareness is a concept also called proprioception. And again, I'm reading from some notes here. And that's one's awareness of one's body and limbs in surrounding space. So to have accurate proprioception leads to being able to have accurate spatial awareness. Now, I work with people who have gone through assorted traumatic or near traumatic events in their lifetimes, often recurring, such as with very difficult abuse-filled childhoods. What that can result in is a distortion of spatial awareness in some respects, in that people find themselves with a lot of preoccupation with the past, as if it's still happening now, with the subsequent not only a lot of thoughts about the past or some past events happening, but feeling states that go with those past events that are still not resolved. And so there's this repetition of thinking and feeling states happening, and they're easily triggered by things, occurrences around one in their present life. This can happen for any of us, actually. We can easily be triggered, whether positively or negatively, by stimuli around us, to think about past events that were positive or negative or a mix thereof. Obviously, if it's more about positive things we're triggered about, the term trigger is often not even associated. It's just more like an association that comes up from what we're thinking about related to the past that seems connected with something that's occurring in front of us in the present. However, where spatial awareness comes in that gets distorted is when one really feels like they're re-experiencing something from the past all over again in the present, because feelings are so strong and thoughts are so preoccupying from the past that the present is not something you're fully within because you're so stirred up and preoccupied with the past. So spatial awareness, in a sense, is therefore skewed. Um, the past is seeming so close by and even happening now all over again. And to varying degrees, this can happen, for any and all of us, uh, often in a more bearable way, where the intensity of what we're thinking about from the past is not very high, say from 0 to 10 of how preoccupied we are with the past in the moment. If it's under 5, it's pretty manageable, and we see and hear and perceive clearly over and around all that old preoccupation into the present moment accurately. So our spatial awareness is not too distorted or skewed, if you will. So that is something that's very important. Cultivating spacious awareness is a next step to help one's spatial awareness become less and less distorted and more consistently accurate, where you're perceiving what's going on around you in space and time accurately and externally, congruently with whatever you're thinking. So it's when we get crowded up inside with thoughts from the past that can get as bad as what's called flashbacks, as if we are reliving a past event just horrifically all over again. That's at one extreme end. It can get even worse, though, into what's called dissociation, where you just totally either blank out or you shift into feeling and believing completely like you are somewhere else and in another point in time. It can get very, very complex and distorted, just how one's spatial awareness gets totally removed, and you're just crowded up inside with internal preoccupation about the past, feeling and believing that it's externally happening around you. At that point, the sense of spaciousness and awareness of spaciousness is not there. So we go in and out as people, experiencing some degree of spacious awareness and a lack of that. Now, what do I mean by spacious awareness, which was the tricky definition I couldn't find a real clear, succinct meaning on when I was looking it up online before doing this video? Well, what I mean by that is not only the accurate sense of spatial awareness that I just defined just a little earlier, but the knowledge or understanding and willingness to suspend the process of meaning making or labeling of what is going on around you. What I mean by that is like evaluating it as good or bad, or a repetition of what has happened to you in the past and labeling it as such again. So let me give a more succinct example to that as best I can. I would say that, for example, when something terrible in school happened to you, you were bullied in the playground by some peers, and then later, much later in life, you're yelled at by some bullying seeming person driving in a car next to you. That can trigger off as if you're being bullied all over again, and you label that experience as if you are being terribly bullied all over again, when you're just really ultimately dealing with an annoyed, problematic fellow citizen driving in their car. And there's a lot of that here, by the way, in Massachusetts. Um, so cultivating spacious awareness, where you really have a sense of space between yourself and the past, uh, and space between yourself and other people around you, and a sense of that inside your mind and your body, that thoughts connected with the past are just thoughts and can move on through. And you really get this sense of less of a crowded feeling mind. And that's what I'm getting at with spacious awareness, an uncrowded feeling mind and therefore body that goes with that. That is the beginning of what I would say is a positive experience of spacious awareness that gets cultivated through meditation, of which there are many forms to choose from. And fortunately, they're more and more popular. It's often called mindfulness here in the United States. And much of the Western world is calling it mindfulness. We have the Eastern philosophies to thank for bringing them over the decades to the United States. And they've become more practically accessible and applicable. Now the psychotherapy community draws from mindfulness a lot. And so do other places like yoga centers that have become more and more popularized. So there's a lot of opportunity to cultivate spacious awareness in oneself, where you don't feel so crowded inside from thoughts that are so often based on negative past experiences. Now, psychotherapy is also a very positive, helpful way to cultivate more spacious awareness. And that's more and more important for us to do in our lives, to lead satisfying lives in the present day as much as possible, that are less and less informed by difficult experiences from the past. I hope I have made some concepts more accessible to viewers, and thank you for watching.